Hey guys, welcome back to Best Practice TV. Anne Mckeown's just dropped by. She's a life coach and she's got a great story to tell. Stay tuned. We're bringing great people to you. They're talking leadership, they're talking strategy, they're talking innovation, they're talking creativity. They've got the big ideas. This is Talking Business. So, thanks for joining us.
Welcome, it's lovely to be here. Thank you
good, isn't
for
it?
inviting me.
Yeah. So Anne's got a great story to tell, and I have prompted you with some questions, which we're going to talk through in a moment. But tell us about what you're passionate about and why you've taken or embarked on this journey that you're on in terms of building. Is it Mpower?
Yes.
Mpower.co.
So, yeah, the name of the company is 2Mpower, and it's actually the number 2,
yes,
and then a capital M, and then the word power.
Yeah.
And that came about really because I've come across a lot of women who are very capable but lack confidence. And whether that's in their own daily life or whether it's in the work environment, they seem to undersell themselves terribly. And actually it's something that I used to do. And I think we're almost not even aware of it. I don't know whether because when we're brought up as young girls or because we've got a nurturing side to our nature, we put other people first. And where this is a beautiful trait, it can often be taken advantage of. And so my job, and I had to work on myself first, was to empower myself to stand up and be counted and help other women do the same.
You know, you came to a point, so you worked on yourself and you came to a point where you started a business, but maybe take us back to the beginning and talk us through maybe some of those milestones or, you know, those points that started to guide and influence the path that you've further down that path, but what was that path?
So I got into the oil industry, and by the age of 23 I had my own apartment, a company car. I was the area manager for 40 petrol stations, doing a lot of coaching and training with staff, loving it. Pretty burnt out, pretty young, but I felt I'd made it. Well, people were telling me that I was a success, you know, you've been this young success. But I actually felt quite lonely inside. I didn't really feel successful in what I imagined success to be, because for me it was more about having the pleasures in life and no worry and lots of friends around, and it was sort of for me a feeling on the inside rather than this material look of everything on the outside. There was a personal tragedy that caused me to stop and take stock of how far I had come. And what was I going to do this for the next 40 years? Was I just going to have a bigger house and a bigger car and climb this career ladder? And I realised that without special people in my life and without a purpose, it was almost like I needed to feel that my life had more meaning. I sort of like, was this it? Mm-hmm. So people say it was very brave because I gave everything up. I left the job, I rented out my apartment, I gave away my car, and it actually wasn't very brave. I was running away. I probably wasn't aware of it at the time, but I was running away from a situation that I'd got myself into. I almost felt trapped. It was like golden handcuffs. And I decided to volunteer, and I was, you know, blessed enough that I could afford to volunteer. And I first went to Africa, and I was working as a project leader for people that were blind. They had cataracts in both eyes. At the end of being able to help these people get their vision back, the gratitude that they had, they would do things like sing a hymn, you know, or a prayer to say thank you because they had nothing, or they would give me a piece of sugar cane, and that was the gift. And it was like gifts you couldn't put a price on. And so I began to realise what for me anyway was really important in life. And anyway, I went back home to Glasgow and I found it really hard to settle, so I then went off to India, and I worked with some lepers in a leper colony in India. And what really amazed me about these people was how much they laughed. One young boy there, he used to call himself the laughing leper. and he couldn't walk. He was lying on the ground. He would pull vegetables and weeds out of the garden, and I remember him sort of just telling jokes. He would just telling leper jokes, and being really uncomfortable and thinking, am I meant to laugh at this or not? It just seemed inappropriate. But that had a huge impact on me, where I maybe had this feeling that I'd come from a poor background. Gosh, it wasn't poor at all in comparison. My life was actually very rich. Anyway, I then went back home and I really struggled to settle again, because people were saying to me, you've missed all the TV programs, you've missed all the, the new stores that have opened, and I just felt it was also insignificant. I actually then came to Australia, believe it or not. It was in the early 90s, and I worked with homeless people here in Australia. And one of the great things about being a volunteer is that you can do anything. So they asked me to cut hair, and I said, well, I can't cut hair, I'm not a hairdresser. Oh, but you'll save us $10 if you cut our hair, and I had these wee daft scissors, and there was a queue of these homeless people who just wanted their hair cut, and then I ended up having to do their nails, and I actually wasn't very good. I'm not really a nursey type, so I actually struggled with that, and I said to them, look, I think I'll be better as a fundraiser or something, and I went back to my corporate skills and fundraising. And so I phoned some of the larger stores here and got donations of slippers and underwear and things that these people needed. And so when I did eventually go back home, I knew that I had to start on a new path.
Tell me about, what are some of the things that you've sort of embarked on a learning journey to learn? Like you've sought them out, like NLP and things like that?
Yeah, look, what I discovered was my mindset was one of the things that could either really help me move on in life or hold me back. And I've had various periods of growth and various times where I felt a bit stuck. Mm-hmm. And without that awareness of your own mindset, it's really hard to move on. So you can either have a growth mindset where you're open to change. Mm-hmm. So for example, when I came back from my trips and people were saying, oh, you've missed all the TV programs and things, they had a very routine life and a fixed mindset. Things were a certain way. And what I learned through life was that things aren't necessarily right or wrong, they're just different. And I had to open my mind to things being different. And NLP, which has been around since the 70s, and I've been involved with and learning from since the 90s, has been had a huge turning point in my mindset. Would you like me to share?
Yeah, sure. I mean, just give us the 2-second definition of what NLP is for those that haven't come across it.
So basically it stands for neuro linguistic programming. That's the N, the L and the P. And the neuro is your thinking. The linguistic is the language that we use. We're often very unaware of how negative our language can be. And the programming is our behaviour, it's our mindset, it's how we act in the world. And so everything starts with a thought. And if that thought is negative, it has an impact on the body, it has an impact on the language, it has an impact on the outcome. And so it's learning to be aware of those thoughts or those decisions that we unconsciously make, and then saying, oh, wait a minute, stop and really think this through.
So correct me if I'm wrong, we've got our subconscious mind and we've got our conscious mind, and our subconscious mind is really big and our conscious mind is really small, and I forget the names for the different parts, Abdullah and prefrontal cortex. And so what we're doing is we're using our conscious mind to control our subconscious. Yes,
because what happens and what people don't realise is that actually and we call it the unconscious mind rather than subconscious, because subconscious makes it as if it's less than, but actually it's greater than, and it has much more control over us than
So do we say unconscious mind and conscious mind?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. And another thing is that it's not just as thoughts go through the mind, affect the language and the behaviour, we can actually work it the other way too. So if we change our behaviour, our physiology, that actually has a great impact in how we feel. But the hardest thing is that it's the last thing you feel like doing.
That's right.
You want to stay under the covers feeling yuck, or you want to stay in the office all slumped and feeling sorry for yourself. And it's that conscious thing of saying, stop, wait a minute, get out the mirror, look at yourself and say, actually, if I was to straighten up my shoulders and lift up my head, and this isn't about pretending, it's not about, we're saying positive things and you'll feel better. It's about retraining the brain to the extent where it becomes, when you're sitting like this, the brain goes, this isn't good for you, sit up. And then you go, yeah, this is good for you now. And it's all about understanding ourselves, and we can start to take responsibility for our own world, and that's your ability to respond to the situations that you find yourself in.
How do they reach out to you? You've got a website?
Yes, so it's the number 2 and then M and then the word power, 2Mpower.co, and I'm also on Instagram, and I run a women's group locally. We meet once a month on a Friday morning in Manly Vale, and that's a free get-together. A friend said to me about Meetup, and technology is my biggest challenge, and I had never heard of Meetup, and she said, you start this group and then anyone that's interested will come along, and it's called the Sydney Women's Self-Empowerment Group. And the reason that it's called that's quite funny. I didn't come up with the name. When you link in, it says, what's the city? Sydney. Who's your audience? Women. What's the title? Empowerment. And then they put group on the end, and so it became this Sydney Women's Self-Empowerment Group. And within a week, I had nearly 100 ladies sign up. I've been going now for about a year, and we've got about 360 ladies on there now. Not everybody comes to every meeting. Session, yeah. We probably on average have about 20 to 25 because it's during the day and it's this side of the city. And but the community involvement that we have, and it's women supporting women really, and whether that's you need help in your corporate business or just your daily life, or working in a small business, trying to set up your own small business. There's quite a few ladies that come and ask me, well, how did you get going? I'm still getting going. Yeah. I think it's a journey, isn't it?
Absolutely, it never stops.
It's a process. But the difference now is that I'm actually really enjoying the journey. I'm enjoying learning about the technology, and because I've changed my mindset to say, yep, you're going to fail, you're going to have problems, you're going to reach brick walls, but that's okay because it's just part of the process.
Do you do stuff on Skype or Google Hangouts? Yes, you do.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Tell us about that. So
basically, my setup at the moment is one-on-one coaching, and I've been doing that now for the last couple of years. So I don't have a lot of spare time, and I began to realise that I was then not able to serve a wider audience. And so what I'm looking to do now is some online training courses, because I do all sorts of topics like how to be assertive and heart goals rather than smart goals, well, as well as smart goals, but heart goals are what I'm all about. How to change your mindset, the basic introductions to N.L.P, discover what's holding you back in life. So a whole array of topics. But I also do one-on-one or one-to-many coaching through Skype. So for people that are not, and technology is amazing, although it drives me nuts, because I actually even have a couple of clients in the US now.
Perfect.
And so and that just blows my mind that I can be coaching someone in the US. But it gives me so much pleasure because it means that, I can spread my skills and my knowledge.
I had a few other questions for you, and this is some of the questions that I ask all of the people that come in as our guests for Talking Business. Is what advice would you give to your 30-year-old self? I
think probably believe in myself more, and I wish I'd learned earlier about the whole mindset thing. because I did allow myself to get in a few dark places at times, where I sort of felt life's just all too hard. I love the book The Road Less Travelled, because the first sentence is life is difficult. And you know what? Life really is difficult. And I think one of our biggest problems is we expect it not to be. So when it is, we think everyone else is living this wonderful life and we're not. And particularly now with, life looks better on Facebook. We all know that.
Life looks amazing on Best Practice TV. Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually did a blog on that where we had gone skiing, and I put up these posts of me happy and, it was snowboarding actually, and loving it. But the truth was, at the end of the day, I was battered and bruised. I'd fallen. I was crying. I felt miserable. I was cold. And so when I came home, I actually wrote a blog about how life looks better on Facebook, and I got such a huge response to that, and people were like, well, thanks for your honesty, thanks for being so open, and because even I've fallen into that trap of you've got to get on social media and you've got to post and I thought, okay, I better do that. So I think believing in yourself and being honest with yourself is huge.
What are the challenges for you? So, we're here at Talking Business with Best Practice, and for you, for your business for the next 6, 12, 18 months, what do you think your biggest challenges are?
Look, one of the things I found the hardest is being a solo operator, because you end up doing everything. So my biggest challenge is all the technology and the admin, and I'm getting better at that and managing my time. I'm actually at the stage now where I just haven't got the time to do all of that, so I'm actually now getting help and paying for someone else to do those tasks for me, so that's great. And even then, I think that's a big thing that women struggle with, is the sort of the spending the money or the investing in themselves, investing in their business, and because we worry about the family and having enough money to feed everybody and buy the clothing, and we'll put the kids and everybody else first. So when it comes to us, it's like, and again, investing in me, and what if it doesn't work out? And but what I've found with most women is that they are very, very capable, and actually, because they're good at working out the finances at home and multitasking and all the different things, when it comes to business, they're amazing. They're amazing, and so building their confidence. And for me, I had to. I mentioned my girls at the beginning, so being a role model for them was my why, my reason for doing it. And so one of them's studying for HSC at the moment, and I keep saying to her, "Come on, don't give up, don't undersell yourself, don't self-sabotage. Just do what you need to do. It's only for another few months." And then I'm thinking, well, I've got to do that too. So for me, it's all about the technology. It's learning how to put myself out there. And at first, I was a bit shy about that, because I thought, people will judge and criticise. And then I thought, but you know what? I like myself, and I know that what I'm doing is for the greater good. So don't let that hold you back. And that's something that...
So do you want some tips?
Yes, please.
Okay, here come the tips. All right, so... the challenge doesn't matter how big the business gets. The challenge is always the same. So we have, as entrepreneurs, we have a huge quantity of ideas. There's a huge amount of things that we want to do. So I think being really, really clear on our cause is the first thing. Once we're really, really clear on our cause, like any business plan, if you like, starting to look at what are the things that are absolutely essential and what are the things that are the nice to do, but then really saying, okay, well, with each of those things, what's the benefit? So for example, there are increasingly more technology, but there are increasingly things that we can tap into where maybe the biggest barrier is having actual extra arms and legs to do the things we want to do. Getting more done with the resources that you've got available is a couple of things to look at.
Thank you.
How's that sound?
Yeah, great.
Excellent. What would be your go-to gold nugget or your go-to tip for our audience out here in terms of taking something away from this segment that they can change and they can do today, they can start today? What's the one thing that they could do that you're really passionate about? That top tip, I could do it, or Jack could do it, or Flavia could do it. what would that one thing that you didn't, yeah? What is it?
Be honest with yourself.
Be honest with ourselves, yeah.
Be honest with yourself. Because what we tend to do is we walk through life wearing a mask. Oh yes, everything's fine, when it's not really.
Mm-hmm. And mine's amazing, everything's amazing.
And what happens though is that when we're not honest with ourselves, how can we be honest with other people? And how can we expect other people to be honest with us? And I think, particularly in the workplace, we say what we think people want to hear, and we. One of the things I love about your business, Kobe, is that you are very open, and you encourage your staff to be very open. But that's unique. I think giving people the opportunity to be able to voice what's important to them, but for them not to feel that they're going to then be black marked because of their honesty. Because the sign of a great leader is being able to take feedback. You can choose to do something with it or not, but allowing people the opportunity to give that feedback, that's when growth occurs. And one of the big lessons for me, and I'm always telling it to my kids and the ladies that come and see me as well, is that start with just being honest with yourself. Who am I? What is my intention in this situation? You know, whether you're in a board meeting, whether you're out visiting a customer, whether you're doing something online, what is my intention, and is it for the bigger picture? Is it for the greater good of the company, the family, the relationship? And what am I contributing? Because I think in everything, people are always looking for, what can I get out of this? How much are they going to pay me? How many holidays can I get? You know, but I've really learned through time that the more you give, the more that the laws of nature give back.
It's giving to the universe, and the universe gives back. Absolutely, that's what we live by here at Best Practice. I can honestly say, you know, thinking through that, my vulnerability, my issue is about being vulnerable. It's not about what I can, this is how I go into the situation, not about what I can get out of it. It's like, I don't want to get hurt. And so it's taken a long time to go, actually, this person's intention is not to hurt me. I'm hurting myself. Like, I'm taking what they're saying, and my honesty piece was to say, well, I've got to stop listening to what they're saying and thinking that, you know, and letting it hurt me, because that's not their intention. Their intention is just to say what they need to say, and then also to speak last. So that's been because I'm very noisy, and I say a lot, and I've got to listen, you know. And so for me, my honesty was like, okay, you know what you know, you need to sit and listen anyway. That's just my
But what you've just said there is really poignant, because you've actually been open to learning, and
Absolutely.
That again takes us right back to the beginning about mindset, being open to. I mean, some people that come to me are not coachable. Because they think they're right all the time and everybody else is wrong, and they see everything that's wrong in the world. And while you view things like that in that manner, you're always going to be dissatisfied.
Oh, absolutely. So if you're Isaac Newton, you're allowed to be right. But if you're not Isaac Newton, then there's a good chance that there are other ways to do things, and there are other solutions. That's exactly right. Yeah. Exactly right. So this has been fun.
Yes,
absolutely.
I've enjoyed it
a lot of fun. So we've got your Instagram. We'll put the link in the comments below. We've got your website, which we've had a quick look at, and that was absolutely fantastic to see. In terms of a piece of advice, or how do people reach out to you? There's obviously Instagram. They can look on Instagram, and they can look at your website. How can they contact you? What's your most favourite way for people to say hello?
Send me an email. It's anne@2mpower.co, and I respond personally to every email. I'm all about people. I love people, and the more the merrier. So get in touch. I'd love to hear from you.
Perfect. Or a direct message on Instagram?
Yes, a direct message on Instagram.
Absolutely.
Or Facebook.
Fantastic.
Or
Perfect. Okay, excellent, fantastic. So we'll put all of those links below. This has been Talking Business. It's been absolutely fantastic. Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
It's been great having you. And so we've got a bunch of great speakers coming through here on Talking Business. We've got some great guests coming to join us. Hit subscribe for more of these great videos on the YouTube channel. Follow our page on Instagram. Follow Anne's page on Instagram. Lots of great quotes, lots of great posts. And if any of this story resonated with you, reach out to Anne. Even if you want to ask me a question, I can make the introduction for you. Anne's really approachable. She's got lots of great stuff. So if you're a lady who definitely knows there's more for you in your life, then Anne is going to be the person that's going to unleash that for you, which is really exciting. And that's what Talking Business is all about. It's about inspiring customer confidence, about reaching out into the marketplace, reaching out into the universe and getting the most out of life, which is absolutely exciting. So we will see you soon when you subscribe to our YouTube channel right here on Best Practice TV. Bye for now.